The rules of the game are simple. There are two sides, the Imperials and the Barbarians. The goal of each faction is to get rid of all the members of the other side. Each round consists of the Barbarians secretly deciding on whether to eliminate an Imperial or try to convert them into a Barbarian, which the Imperial will then have the choice of whether to accept or refuse. Then after time to discuss, everyone will publicly vote on who they think is a Barbarian to eliminate them, meaning this is a game of strategy and deception. Previously, Ryland chose the innkeeper Gwendolyn to be Barbarian alongside him early on in the game. Together, they survived round after round of death and chaos. With the end of the game in sight, Ryland is starting to become more ruthless. Now, the continuation. Ryland wrung his hands deep in thought as he stood in the Barbarian meeting chamber along with his fellow Barbarian, Gwendolyn, and the Game Master who was waiting on their choice. They had to choose whether to eliminate one of the Imperials, which would make them turn to dust, or to risk trying to convert again to add more to their number. The issue was that they had tried to convert the former Prince Theomund in the last round, and not only had he refused, but he had announced to the whole hall of players that the Barbarians had tried to convert him. Accusations had been flung around amongst all the players, and the former alliances had been forgotten, but both Ryland and Gwendolyn had survived. That wasn't the problem. The issue was the threat of the Imperials continuing to isolate the Barbarians by thinking it was a good strategy to refuse conversions. Maybe we can try converting Claynis, Gwendolyn said. I think she would accept. Ryland shook his head. We can't convert again. It's too risky. We have to eliminate Theomund. Gwendolyn inhaled sharply. What? Why? He refused the conversion the last round. We cannot allow people to think that they can do that without consequences. They must fear us. It's unfortunate, but we have to set an example. We have to eliminate Theomund. No one else will dare refuse a conversion after that. Gwendolyn's eyes widened. No, I don't want to kill anyone else, Ryland. I can't. This is the game we are playing, Gwendolyn. We are almost at the end. No, I'm sure that if we just keep converting people, we can win. This is war, Gwendolyn. I know war. I've fought in countless battles. In war, it's kill or be killed. This is a pivotal moment. We are almost at the end. A few more smart moves and it's over. Killing Theomund is the smart move. He saw tears start to gather in the corner of Gwendolyn's eyes. He couldn't blame her. The pressure was rising now. Any one mistake could be their last. Fine, Gwendolyn managed to utter before looking down, unable to meet Ryland's eyes. We want to eliminate Theomund, Ryland told the Game Master, who smiled broadly. Very well, please go back to your cells. Ryland made his way through the corridor to his individual cell, and a moment later, the door opened, letting him out into the main hall. All the other players joined him from their cells. Ryland saw that Gwendolyn had wiped her tears and was doing her best to look cool, calm, and collected. Luckily, she wasn't the only one looking stressed, especially after Theomund started to disintegrate, turning to dust before their very eyes. The remaining 10 players stood in a haggard circle in the middle of the hall, all looking grim. The Barbarians are sending us a message, Gadarian, the former mercenary who Ryland had met on the field of battle, said. They want us to know that if we refuse conversion, we will be eliminated in the next round. Smart, Saniva the acrobat said. A sudden thought popped into Ryland's brain. Gadarian had been attempting to get him out for most of the game. Perhaps this was a chance to get his revenge. If he twisted what he knew to be the truth, he made a thoughtful sound. Yes, it seems like something a soldier would do. He then very deliberately turned to Gadarian as the others watched. Yes, it does. Gadarian matched his gaze. Or a politician, Vera, the former imperial librarian, said, and then she pointed at Ulfric, the merchant prince. Or a scholar, he shot back. They too glared at each other. It seems obvious to me who is a barbarian. Everyone turned to the court jester, Manville. He had a silly grin on his face. It's Wendelin. Ryland's heart dropped. I have been watching you from the beginning, Manville said to the innkeeper. You came into the game with Ryland. I believe you were possibly the first barbarian. Who better to frame than the person everyone saw you come in with? No one would suspect it was you. And then you start close to him, using him as a shield while pulling the strings from behind. Ryland looked on in horror. Manville was not correct. Not exactly, but he was so close and was being very persuasive. He continued, I think now though, all the lies and the manipulation and the killing has caught up with you. I know you, Wendelin. You are a good person. This game is not made for good people. You are suffering. I can see it. And I am sorry. The silly grin had disappeared, and for the first time in the whole game, the court jester was serious. Ryland did not know if that was why what he said had such an effect, but as soon as he finished talking, Wendelin burst into tears. He is right. It's her. Bordan, one of the twins, said, and everyone else seemed to agree. Ryland said nothing. Did nothing. What could he possibly do? Wendelin had sealed her own fate. If he defended her now, then it would seal his as well. When the Game Master called for the vote, every single person voted for Wendelin, including Ryland, and including Wendelin herself. When Ryland looked at her in surprise, she avoided his gaze. Still, she was protecting him, he realized, not wanting to implicate him in any way. When she turned to dust, she did so silently, and Ryland had to look away. Back in the barbarian meeting room, Ryland started to feel dizzy. Wendelin had been by his side since the very beginning, protecting him, working with him, and there had been nothing, absolutely nothing he could do to protect her. Congratulations for surviving another round, Ryland. When you are ready, please let me know your decision on whether to eliminate or convert, the Game Master said. His voice was as pleasant as always. You are a cruel man for creating this game, Ryland said. Oh, I didn't create this game, and I'm not the one choosing who lives and who dies. That was the wrong thing for the Game Master to say. Ryland reached across the table and grabbed the Game Master by the neck. The man let out a small shout in shock, and then his hands immediately went up to Ryland's wrists, trying to remove his hand, but Ryland was too strong. If I wanted to, I could kill you right here, right now, Ryland growled. Yes, I suppose you could, the Game Master uttered. Though if you did, you too would die. Ryland looked at the man, taking in the fear in his eyes. I thought you weren't the one choosing who dies. I'm not. Ryland thought about ending the sick game right here, but he knew, in truth, that killing the Game Master would only get himself killed. He let go of the Game Master's neck, leaving a hand-shaped bruise, and let him drop to the floor, gasping for breath. I choose to convert Ulfric, Ryland said. The Game Master slowly stood up and straightened his jacket. He was no longer smiling, and when he spoke, his voice was no longer pleasant. Very well. Please wait here, he croaked, and then he walked out of the room through one of the magic doors that only appeared when they were needed. Ryland sighed. He had to stay calm. He was getting closer to the end, closer to receiving his prize for winning, the location of his mother. After the very first round, Ulfric had known that Ryland was a barbarian, somehow, and had approached him, quietly whispering that he wanted to be converted. Ryland hadn't done it at the time, thinking it too risky. However, a couple of rounds ago, it had been mentioned to the whole group. So he thought if Ulfric refused and told everyone about it, the suspicion was unlikely to fall back on Ryland. For why would he do it when everyone knew that he had been asked to? And if Ulfric did accept, well, one less Imperial to worry about. Sure enough, the Game Master came back with Ulfric, who had accepted. Took you long enough? The Merchant Prince bellowed, and then he laughed and clapped Ryland on the back. You have played a marvellous game, sir. Marvellous. You even had me believing you weren't the barbarian for a while. Well, that was the idea, Ryland said, a lot less enthusiastically. Ulfric laughed some more. Yes, of course. Well, now we get to play. He suddenly turned serious. In the hall for the vote, we must put the suspicion on Clenis. Absolutely not, Ryland snapped. His patience for this game was wearing thin. Clenis was a mute, so she found it hard to defend herself against accusations, but she had been loyal to Ryland since the beginning. He was not allowing her to die. He planned to soon convert her. Who then? Ulfric asked. One of the twins, Ryland responded. Ulfric stroked the goatee on his chin and then smiled. I like that. If we get rid of one twin, the other twin may be overtaken by emotion and cause some chaos. That could cover us for another round or two. I like it very much. No wonder you have survived this long. We must be subtle, though I suppose you have that under control. Ryland nodded. I do. Time is up. Please go back to your cells, the Game Master said, his pleasant tone icy. When Ryland looked at him, he realized that the bruises on his neck had gone. But when their eyes met, the Game Masters were cold. Back in the hall, no one died, and the first one to talk, unsurprisingly, was Ulfric. Someone got converted, he said. Immediately, the accusatory look started being thrown around, but Ryland was more interested in the twins, Bordan and Boudicca, who were whispering intensely. I think Vera has been right for a while, Ryland said, and Vera looked at him hopefully. You mean about Bordan? Yes, finally, it's him. I've been telling you it's him. Bordan and Boudicca quickly stopped their whispering. You are just threatened by us, Bordan said angrily. Yes, I am, because you are a barbarian and you have her vote, Vera responded with just as much venom, pointing at Bordan's twin sister Boudicca. Ryland saw her looking sadly at the floor, and he wasn't the only one to notice. What do you think, Boudicca? Ulfric prompted. She looked up in surprise, and her twin looked at her expectantly. I think it's you, Bordan, she said. Bordan froze. The look of betrayal that crossed his face even pulled on Ryland's heartstrings. Boudicca, it's not me. How could you? You haven't been acting right since the beginning, Boudicca said. This isn't you, Bordan. I'm just trying to keep you alive. Boudicca shook her head. If you were trying to help me, then you would take my opinion into account. You would actually be smart. I know when you are nervous. I know when you are hiding something. You could have converted me, but you didn't. Why? I am your brother, Boudicca. Why would you do this to me? Why would you do this to me? Boudicca countered. And Ryland saw her stand up straighter. You have been using me. I can see it. No, Bordan shouted, but before he could say anything else, the Game Master called for the vote. Ryland had wanted to go after the twins, but he hadn't thought that they would go against each other. He supposed that having your family in here was maybe not the advantage everyone had thought it would be. Boudicca had just sent her brother to the grave. Literally. Ulfric and Ryland both voted for Bordan, as did Senniva, Clenis, Vera, and Gadarian. Manville voted for Ulfric, Bordan for Vera, and then to Ryland's continuous surprise, Boudicca voted for her own brother. I'm sorry, she said before casting her vote. Ryland did not know what the twins had constantly been whispering about all game, but whatever Bordan had done to turn his own twin against him, Ryland hoped he would never make a similar mistake with anyone close to him. The first few people who had turned to dust earlier in the game had screamed and begged and tried to escape. But Bordan, like Wendelin, was silent. He just looked at his sister, who had started crying, and then he was gone. The pile of dust, the only reminder of him. I can officially announce that Bordan was an Imperial, the Game Master announced, and immediately Boudicca let out a horrid cry that made Ryland's ears ring. She dropped to her knees and beat at the ground with her fists, and then she looked up at the ceiling and shouted, "I am the barbarian!" Everyone watched in shock as Boudicca turned to dust immediately, her cries continuing to echo in the hall even after she was nothing but a pile of dust next to her brother. I would like to remind you all that it is forbidden to name yourself a barbarian in this hall, whether you are or are not, and that doing so will result in elimination. However, both Bordan and Boudicca were Imperials. Now please, all go back to your cells, the Game Master said. Ryland could hardly believe it, and Ulfric too was in disbelief when they met again in the barbarian meeting room. "That was just too easy," Ulfric exclaimed. "We barely had to do anything and we got 2 people eliminated." What a joke. Those twins were utterly stupid. Not stupid, Ryland said sadly, thinking of Wendelin, just overtaken by emotion. Ulfric crossed his arms. "That is stupid." Ryland sighed. "Well, there are only 7 of us left. If we convert 2 people and survive the votes, we will win. So let's start converting who we most want to survive. I want Clanus." "Actually, I was thinking about killing," Ulfric said. Ryland rolled his eyes. "There is no need to kill," he said. "I know," Ulfric grinned. "But it's your fault, really. I asked you from the very beginning to be a barbarian. You refused to convert me until now when we are almost at the end. I would have been a much better ally than Wendelin, but alas, it does not matter. What does matter is that I want to have the whole experience as a barbarian, which means I want to choose to eliminate someone. Just this one. I have spent my whole life around soldiers," Ryland said, "and yet I have never met any soldier more bloodthirsty than you damn nobles. Absolutely not. I brought you into being a barbarian, so we play the game my way. We are converting Clanus, and that is the end of it." Ulfric's smile twitched, but didn't disappear. "As you say?" Unsurprisingly, Clanus accepted, since everyone knew now that refusing was a death sentence. She was shocked when she saw Ryland. It seemed she had truly thought he was an Imperial. When Ryland explained to her that now there were 3 barbarians and they controlled 3 votes in the hall, they could keep each other safe and continue to convert. Winning was so close he could taste it. Clanus nodded in agreement with him enthusiastically. However, Ulfric, Ryland noticed, was slightly more subdued. The merchant prince wasn't happy that he had been refused the chance to eliminate, Ryland supposed. People like him weren't used to being told no. However, Ryland did not care if the man was upset. He only cared that he followed the plan. Ryland had been through too much in this game to let anyone ruin it now. Back in the hall, everyone looked around, waiting to see if anyone would turn to dust, but no one did. There were 7 of them left, and 3 were barbarians. Ryland, for the first time, was starting to feel a small glimmer of hope. Guderian was thinking along the same lines, though from the opposite perspective. "There are at least 2, maybe 3 barbarians left, I would wager," the former mercenary captain said. "The Imperials have almost lost." "Indeed. It seems you have played almost a perfect game, Guderian, coming at me so hard at the beginning so everyone would think you are an Imperial, but then switching your vote whenever it suited you," Ryland said. Keeping some pressure on Guderian was a good idea, so that if Guderian tried to come for him, it would seem more personal than strategic. "I agree," Vera said. "As do I," Senaiva added. Guderian didn't have to defend himself, however. It was Ulfric who spoke up. "I actually have a different belief." Everyone looked his way. "There has been someone who has been puppeteering this whole game from behind the scenes. This person is someone who has the love and respect of many people, including most of the people in here right now. And I believe That person is the original barbarian. Ryland's heart started to quicken. Was Ulfric that upset about being refused the chance to eliminate that he was going to turn on Ryland? Now, so close to the end? Ask yourselves, Ulfric continued, who is the silent assassin behind every major move in the game? He paused before turning his head to look at the person he was speaking about. Clenis. Ryland's mouth fell open, and he wasn't the only one. Clenis looked shocked, and her cheeks turned red. You have gone completely unnoticed this whole game, but it makes complete sense. Wendelin was a soldier who couldn't handle the heat, but it was you who was the mastermind behind her this whole time, Ulfric said to Clenis. Ryland couldn't believe it. I'd say it was worth a try. We have to start looking at everyone, and there is some sense to the argument, Guderian said thoughtfully. Clenis shook her head frantically and then pointed back at Ulfric. She is already trying to turn it back on me. Classic deflection. I just don't see it, Vera said. Don't let the fact that she cannot speak fool you. It is her. I am sure of it, Ulfric said. Clenis ran up to Vera and gestured with her hands from side to side as she shook her head. Then she looked at Ryland, her eyes pleading. Ryland let out a long sigh. I don't think it is Clenis, he said. She is actually one of the few people I trust in this game. Maybe the only one. Just because she knew Wendelin from before does not automatically make her a barbarian. What this seems to me is the actual barbarian just finding someone easy to cast the blame on, since Clenis can't speak to defend herself. Ryland saw Clenis' shoulders sag in relief and she nodded. Ulfric just smirked. If I am wrong, then vote me out next, he said simply. I'm down for that, Manville said. Me too, Senniva agreed. It is time to vote, the Game Master called out. Ryland saw the fear in Clenis' eyes. As the vote started, it felt like someone was twisting a dagger in his heart. He had done this. He had pulled her into this. Ulfric was doing this to get back at him. Ryland, Vera and Clenis all voted for Ulfric, but Guderian, Manville, Senniva and Ulfric, of course, all voted for Clenis, making it 4-3. Ryland had to look away when Clenis turned to dust. I can now officially announce that Clenis was, in fact, a barbarian. Please all go back to your cells. Previously, voted out barbarians everyone had loudly celebrated. Now though, only Ulfric, Manville and Senniva did. Guderian allowed himself a smile, but Vera looked at Ryland in shock, and Ryland figured that seemed to be a good way to respond to make him look imperial. And tricked. I can't believe it, he said, loud enough for everyone to hear. I told you, Ulfric said as they all went into their cells. Ryland stopped the act as soon as the door was closed. Because now he was not surprised or sad, he was furious. He stormed into the barbarian meeting room, his fists clenched and his teeth grinding. Ulfric immediately lifted his arms above his head, backing away, though his smile was still plastered on his round face. Hey, wait. There will be no fighting between players, the Game Master said. Try and stop me, Ryland growled. But he still did stop short of Ulfric. Instead of putting his hands on him, he just glared at the merchant prince, who laughed nervously. I just wanted to eliminate as a barbarian. I told you. It's that simple. Well there, you did it. Oh no, that was still eliminating as an Imperial. I've been doing that all game. I want to choose who to eliminate from in here. As a true barbarian. If you refuse, then let's fight it out in the hall. We'll see who can wrangle up the most votes. Could be you, could be me. But if you let me eliminate someone now, then I am on your side until the end. We play the rest of the game your way. Ryland took a deep breath, trying to calm himself. He could not let his emotions cloud his judgment. This was about survival. That is all that mattered. He did not want Ulfric going into the hall with a plan on how to get Ryland voted out. Fine, he said. you get 1 kill. Just 1. And then for the rest of the game, you do exactly what I say. See? That's all I wanted, Ulfric said, lowering his arms and relaxing slightly. I was going to let you choose who it should be, but, well, I want to eliminate Vera. No, Ryland snapped. Vera lives or we go at it in the hall, like you said. Ulfric shrugged. Fine, Manville then. He irks me. Is that okay with you? There was a hint of sarcasm in the question, but Ryland ignored it. Yes, I agree with Manville. Very good. Please get ready for the next round, the Game Master told them. See you in the hall, Ulfric said happily. Ryland left the room into the corridor that led to his cell without another word. The barbarians have chosen to eliminate Manville, the Game Master called once they were back in the hall. Oh well, another bites the dust, Manville said before he turned to dust. Ryland didn't know what that meant, but he supposed it was a joke someone out there might get. He looked around. They had started with 20 players. Ryland had been the first barbarian and under suspicion from the very start, and yet here he was, in the final 6. 2 barbarians and 4 Imperials. Everyone else was looking around as well, all stood in a rough circle in the center of the hall. The barbarians are still killing us, Senniva said in a worried tone. They are ruthless, Vera agreed. And by they, I suppose you mean to suggest it's not you? Guderian said to her, and Vera looked at him in surprise. Are you accusing me, Guderian? I've been thinking. Wendelin was a barbarian, Clanus was a barbarian. I have thought Ryland was the first barbarian. It seems that there may be 2 left, and I am willing to bet it's you both. He pointed at Vera and Ryland in turn. That would seem logical, Ryland said, and everyone turned to him, eyes wide. I have been set up from the very beginning of this game. The original barbarian has been playing masterfully, and after this round, I know who it is. Ulfric, it's you. I should have seen it. Ulfric smirked. He knew exactly what Ryland was doing, and Ryland guessed that he was ready for it. I am an Imperial. Haven't I proved it by outing Clanus? Yes, you were very sure about Clanus. You even said that we should vote for you if you were wrong. Only someone who was absolutely sure would say that, and the only way you could be absolutely sure is if you yourself were a barbarian, throwing her to the wolves to protect yourself. Ryland looked around at the others. You saw how Clanus was when she got accused. She wasn't just scared, she looked hurt, betrayed, because they are both barbarians, and Ulfric ruthlessly stabbed her in the back. Folly, Ulfric said. Let's look at the facts here. Ryland, you are the one who defended Clanus. You defended a barbarian. You were in an alliance with one, doing the bidding of Rita. You were in an alliance of 2. Let's not play that game. Ryland barked to laugh. Yes, I was in an alliance with 2 because you were using me as a backup plan. Frame me right at the beginning, then act like you knew I was a barbarian and asked to be converted in case you could pull that card out when you were in danger, which you did. Not only that, but you recruited Rita and Wendelin when you saw the alliances were split early on in the game. After Rita was eliminated, you tried for Theomund, but he refused. You killed him. Then after Wendelin was outed, you figured the best way for you to win was to recruit, and then feed us Imperials another barbarian, with you leading the charge. All while making sure that the suspicion increased on me. Ryland was breathing heavily when he was done. He had twisted the truth of what had happened, but all in all, he believed it sounded pretty convincing. Well said, Guderian muttered, and Vera nodded in agreement. Ulfric was no longer smiling. No, come on now, don't listen to him. He is the barbarian. He has manipulated this game from behind the scenes. I thought you said Clanus did that, Senniva added. I believe it was that whole alliance. Ryland, Wendelin, Clanus, and Vera. Guderian, you were right from the beginning. And so was I. Yes, you have been consistently right when it mattered. Too right, Ryland responded. Players, it is time to vote. The Game Master called from the gallery where he stood. Ryland's palms were sweating. He had gone for it, attempting to blindside Ulfric, but the Merchant Prince had been ready. Though what should he have expected from a man who bought his way into nobility? Could this be the end? Had he been bested by the Merchant Prince? He looked around, but no one was meeting his eye. No one except for Vera, who nodded at him. She was called upon to vote first. "I vote to eliminate Ulfric," she said. Ulfric was next. "I happily vote to eliminate Ryland." When it was Ryland's turn, he matched Ulfric's fake tone. "I happily vote to eliminate Ulfric." He allowed himself a small smirk, but it quickly vanished when Guderian voted for him. "And Senniva, please cast your vote." Senniva, the acrobat who had been mostly quiet the whole game, looked slightly shaken. She hesitated. "Vote to eliminate Ulfric." Ryland let out a deep breath as the Game Master spoke. "Ulfric, with 3 votes, you have been eliminated." Immediately, Ulfric's body started turning to dust, but instead of panic, he laughed. "Good game, everyone," he said. "Good game." And then he was just another pile of dust on the ground. "I can officially announce that Ulfric, barbarian," the Game Master said. None of the 4 remaining players celebrated, but Guderian did turn to Ryland, frowning. "Was I really this wrong the whole time?" he said. Ryland shrugged and just walked to his cell. There was no more talk needed. There were only 4 left, and now he was the only barbarian. He wished Wendelin were still with him, and Clanus too, but they were not. Luckily though, he still had one person he believed he would be able to trust. In the barbarian meeting room, Ryland told the Game Master he wanted to convert Vera, and moments later the Game Master came back with her following behind. When she saw him, she smiled broadly. "I wasn't sure, but I suspected it was you from the very beginning," she said. "And you didn't try to get me out?" Ryland asked. Vera shrugged. "I hypothesized that the barbarians had a better chance of winning, so I figured that if I showed you my usefulness, then you might convert me. It seemed I was right." "You were," Ryland confirmed. "There are only 2 Imperials left. We just have to vote out one, convert the other, and we have won." Vera nodded. "So who should we vote out?" Ryland wasn't sure how to answer. "I see why Wendelin found this so difficult," Vera said with a sigh. "How about Guderian? He is older than Senniva and a fighter. I'm sure he has killed many people." "So have I," Ryland said. "And so have you. Indirectly. No single state is responsible for more deaths than the Empire, which we both served." "Yes, well, we are barbarians and Guderian is not. That is just the luck of the game, I suppose." "I suppose," Ryland agreed. Back in the hall, the mood was somber. "This will be the last vote then." And the conversion just happened. Guderian sighed. "I'm starting to think I may be the last Imperial left." "I was just thinking the same," Senniva said. "Well, there can't be 2 last Imperials." "No, you are right. There are likely 2 barbarians and 2 Imperials." Guderian thought for a moment. "It seems that the Imperials have lost, so I'm going to change my strategy and talk to the barbarians, whoever you are. I used to be a mercenary. I did a lot of horrible things. Ryland, you know, you were a soldier too, and we met on the battlefield more than once. But I have left that life behind. I have a wife, I have a daughter, and another child on the way. I came into this game because there is a contract on me. An assassin contract with the Order. They want to kill me. I don't know who exactly hired them, but I believe it may be my former partner who led the mercenary group with me. He was not happy when I left that life. If I survive this game, then I have been promised as a prize that the contract will end. That's all I want. A life with my wife and my children. To grow old and die on a farm. That is why I am here, playing this God-forsaken game. So please, don't vote me out. Let me live and convert me so I can go back to my family." Ryland was so taken aback that he couldn't even hide his complete and utter shock. Wait, that's not fair. I don't have a family, Sunniva said quickly. But I want one day, she sighed. To be honest, I don't know what I want. I grew up in the circus. My whole life I have spent traveling the roads, performing for people, doing spins and kicks and jumps. But a few months ago, I left, even though my parents begged me not to. I wanted more, to find my own way in life, but it hasn't gone well for me. I have no money, no home, no purpose. I only came to this game because I hoped maybe I would find something. Anything that might fill the void I feel inside. But now I realize that it was foolish. The only thing that is likely to be filled is the floor with more dust. All I can ask is that you let me live. Please. Ryland and Vera both looked at each other, neither able to speak. Guderian chuckled. So it was you after all, Ryland. You have played one hell of a game. It is time to vote, the game master called. Sunniva voted for Guderian, and Guderian voted for Sunniva. Vera was called on next, and after hesitating a while, she voted for Guderian too. Then finally, it was Ryland's turn to vote. And when he looked at Guderian, the mercenary captain who he had fought, looked at him and said one simple word, please. Ryland looked away. The game was not over and he could not afford a tied up vote now. I vote Guderian, he said. I'm sorry. Guderian nodded as the game master announced that he would be eliminated. Ryland, my family. They live on a farm near Oakley Hill. It's a red stone hut and surrounded by sheep. Find them and make sure they are looked after. Please, I beg you. I will, Ryland assured him. I will. And then Guderian was gone, leaving behind a pile of dust which joined the many others. I can officially announce that Guderian was in fact an Imperial. Please return to your cells. Please don't kill me, Sunniva said, running up to Ryland. Please. Ryland said nothing, as he did not want to even give a suggestion that he was a barbarian, just in case. But he gave her a quick nod before moving past her and going back to his cell. When he and Vera both arrived to the barbarian meeting, although they had practically won, neither of them really celebrated. They told the game master that they wanted to convert Sunniva, and he went to get her, bringing her back a few moments later. She laughed and hugged both Ryland and Vera when she arrived. Congratulations, the game master told them. And it was only then that Ryland finally allowed himself to relax. He had done it. He had won. From being the first barbarian among 20 players to ending the game as a winner, he had done it. Vera had her hands clasped together, looking grateful, and Sunniva was jumping up and down as if aching to do a flip. Congratulations to all three of you, the game master said, on surviving round 1 of the game. Ryland froze as the game master stepped aside to reveal a new door that had opened in the wall behind him. Round 2 will start shortly. Please head through the door where you will find some refreshments and a place to rest, and then you will be called upon when it is time. What? Vera shouted. Sunniva just gasped. No you don't, Ryland growled. He tapped into the power inside him, the power that made him a living weapon, and pushed a metal blade out of his right palm. He marched towards the game master, but before he could attack, a huge wind picked up inside the room. Ryland braced himself against it as the wind pushed him towards the door, his feet sliding. The game master, however, looked like he was unaffected. Have a nice rest, he said, and then the wind picked up, blowing Ryland, Vera, and Sunniva through the door, which then slammed closed behind them. Thanks for watching. AA Watson out.